Hey everybody, my name's LeakyTapsMan, and this is another wishlist video in which I tell everyone what I'd like in the sequel to a franchise, and this week I'm going to be doing Crysis 3. So Crysis 1 basically made a name for itself because it had really kick-ass graphics and set the standard, and to be honest it's still considered by many to have the best graphics of any game, mainly due to the fact that mod support on the PC is so excellent that it really is something to behold. But I know Crysis 2 let down a lot of people, fans of the series, mainly due to its change of location and certain other factors. But this is what I'd like in Crysis 3, and I'll start with my main factor, which is the linearity in Crysis 2 was far too prevalent. I did appreciate the fact that there was a lot of verticality in the gameplay, so you could obviously go on rooftops and underground and stuff like that. That was really a good element to it. But the jungle location of the original was much better in my opinion. New York, just as good as the location it is in certain other games, it does not suit Crysis. So with that in mind, I would say the location for the third has to include some kind of jungle at least. To be honest, I'd be happy if they combined both of them, so a jungle and an urban area, because both bring their own elements of gameplay that are unique. But as I say, I think the urban focus was a detraction from the original, and originally the jungle set Crysis apart from a lot of the pack. I'd also say make the campaign longer. The size of the levels in Crysis 2 were pretty good, but the actual amount of them was not. So I'd just say make the campaign a few hours longer really, because for all of its so-called shortcomings, the campaign was still really good, and much better than most other first-person shooters in my opinion. One other quite pressing issue in the single player is the artificial intelligence. The AI of the enemies was pretty atrocious, and an example is, say, you're under heavy fire from a bunch of enemies, you just go into cloak behind some cover and they just forget your existence and you can just stroll away. I'm of the firm belief that when you up the difficulty, it should make the enemies smarter rather than just making your health lower and their health higher. It should be a lot more advanced than that. As for the multiplayer, I did like Crysis 2's multiplayer, but it all felt a bit too Call of Duty-esque. And Crysis has enough great stuff going on without having to emulate others. And with that in mind, I'd say go back to more of the original type multiplayer that made Crysis 1 great. So that means up the player count, preferably to 32, make the maps big again, keep that verticality that I mentioned about the single player because that was also in the multiplayer and it really gave the whole game that extra dimension. Bring back vehicles. I'd say leveling and perks are fine really as long as they don't give someone a massive advantage, and also kill streaks to an extent. I'd say stuff like the radar resistance and the advanced power suit, stuff like that is okay as long as you're not getting kills from kill streaks, so stuff like airstrikes I think shouldn't be in the game really. Another thing I'd like to see make a return from the original is Power Struggle, which was a game mode where you're capturing headquarters and you gain points which you can spend on weapons and vehicles, and it was really fun. They were far more tactical than what you see nowadays in terms of multiplayer, which certain people may not like, but there's definitely room in the market for a game that actually makes you think and work together, because a lot of multiplayer games now seem to emphasise solo success rather than teamwork. Another addition I would like to see is some kind of horde mode. I feel like I suggest this in more or less every game, but in Crysis in particular it would be a very good addition. The whole suit abilities give it that extra dimension with several players. There's a good variety of enemies. It could upgrade from human enemies to alien enemies, to advanced alien enemies to massive alien enemies, and I think if Crytek really took the idea and ran with it, they could make something quite special. Something else I would very much like to happen is for Crytek to re-establish Crysis as the absolute pinnacle of graphical technology. Crysis 1 made its name from having sweet-ass graphics. Me, as primarily a console gamer, I was incredibly interested in Crysis solely because of the graphics, and then it turned out to be a really great game. So prioritise the PC development if that's the way it has to be, which it obviously would be. I'd say make the game on next-gen consoles so that the consoles aren't left in the dust, but they can still get a comparable version. Although we obviously don't know the power of these consoles yet, we can assume that at their launch they won't be too far behind PCs, and just really let Crysis be at the forefront of graphics again, because the mod support for the original Crysis showed just how amazing a video game can look. And finally, a couple of little things would be bring back prone, don't know why they took it out, no real reason for it, and also let us use our fists as a weapon again. Again, another thing that I don't really see why they took out. But those are two very insignificant things that I don't really care too much about, but they just feel like they should be included. And that summarises just about everything that I'd like to see in Crysis 3. So as always, I call upon you guys for your opinion, especially you PC gamers, because I imagine you are quite bemused at the fact that Crysis got consoleized, as you guys like to call it, or dumbed down. So anyway, give me your thoughts, tell me what you'd like in Crysis 3, tell me what parts of the video you agree with or disagree with respectively, and if you like this video, please give me a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, it's very much appreciated, so I thank you all. And if you like to hear my insane ramblings and basically me harassing celebrities, then also follow me on Twitter, it will be in the description. So thanks very much for watching, goodbye.